Hello and welcome to Access to HE, Unit 282, the nature and context of business. And we're on to week 4 now, where we're going to look at the knowledge and skills required to function effectively in a business. So the objectives we're looking at are the last two objectives in your criteria. We're going to be looking at 4.1, which is explain the core skills required to function effectively in a business and how you might develop these core skills. 4.2, assess your own core business skills. So this is a piece of work, an exercise you have to do on yourself, and create a little development plan to improve an identified improvement area. So identify something that you think of your own core skills you could improve on, and you're going to have to put a little plan together, and that will be part of the assignment requirement. So success in the workplace is not just tied to how clever you are, or whether you're well qualified in your job, or whether you work super hard and super long. There are some skills that you need to have, some of them soft, some of them hard, and some of them like marketing, selling, networking, management, negotiation, and communication are the real determinants of success. So when you go along for a job interview and you want to work in business, those are the sort of skills they'd be looking out for within the recruitment process. But you can work very, very hard and be well recognized in your workplace. However, it'll be very hard for you to progress in your career if you haven't developed these business skills, or if you don't keep on improving and developing these business skills. So obviously there are many, many business skills, but we're just looking at some essential ones that are important for you to know if you want to work in business, and also important for you to meet the requirements of the assignment. So we're going to start with communication. And if you have a look at my graphic, a piece of research has been done, generally through the website LinkedIn, with people getting what their top employers saying what their top most in demand soft skills are. So there's the top 10 soft skills. And as you can see, number 1 is communication. It's always up at the top, really. A good communicator is really, really important. It forms the basis of all sorts of interactions. It helps you sort of share your ideas, give your views, helps you cultivate loyalty, works with customers. The good communication with customers gets them coming back, gets them buying more. Um, Good communication stops things from going wrong. If all the right information is passed on to the right people, then you can save issues as well. So to communicate effectively, you need to be good at a few different aspects of communication. Now, communication is looked at in some other units, which you may well have already done. So I won't go into it in the depth that we normally look at communication, because we have specific units on it. But the most important thing is to think that there's written, there's verbal, and there's non-verbal communication. Written is quite important because you have to change your style depending on who you're talking to, whether it's an email or a written report or a memo to the company, whether you're talking to senior management, whether you're talking to junior workers, or whether you're talking to your friends. So the most important thing is to know what the right words are when you're in the right context. And a huge part of communication is listening. Now, some people forget about that. They spend a lot of time working very hard on their written and verbal communication, but they actually forget to stop to listen to what the other person's doing. Those of you who've done any work in communication know that it's a two-way avenue, really. And so being in business, you're never communicating on your own. You could be talking to staff, you could be talking to customers, and they need the right sort of attitude, and most respectful attitude in any type is to actually be listened to. So people respect that, they appreciate it, they acknowledge it, and even if you can't resolve their problem, thinking as a customer, then at least if they know that they've been listened to and you've thought about trying what you can do, then they'll get more patience from them and more appreciation from them. So one of the things is always try to listen as much as you talk. Keep that as a rule of thumb. So how do you develop your communication skills? You should be able to clearly articulate your opinions. You should be able to express your thoughts both orally and in writing. So what you need to do is to try to push yourself a little bit harder. If that's something you're maybe not so great at, get out of your comfort zone. Ask questions in meetings, maybe where you might be a bit shy. The only thing with expressing yourself is practice. Practice. Go to a conference, ask a question. If you're a bit shy in the very, very big groups, maybe go into one of the workshops and ask the questions there. Go to a few different people and go around their stands. Have a little communication interaction with all of them. Arrange to meet some high profile influencers in your industry, because they're usually very skilled at communicating. So actually trying to talk with them can actually elevate your communication as well. Improve your interaction skills. Try to get to know your workplace and clients on a more personal level. You don't have to pry into their business, but just sort of simply, use some pleasantries. Ask people how their day is going, how they're feeling today. Just small talk, really. Some call it the old water cooler, when you stop over making coffee and sort of say, how are you today? And try to get some regular interaction. As I said earlier, do some listening. Listen more than you talk. Some people talk more than they listen. Um, Ernest Hemingway said, when people talk, listen completely. Most people never listen. And that is true. You could hear someone talk to you, and then if you walk away, you find out that you haven't remembered a thing about what they said because you weren't really listening. So try to do that a bit more. So, and try to listen to what someone's opinion, and try to make sure that when you're talking that you're giving people room to respond and ask questions as well. Remember that when you're talking it's also a two-way avenue, so try to keep that going. Use the tools and services. Go to a seminar when you can. Use a bit of virtual reality to practice. Record yourself and speak back and have a look at it. How does it look? Those of you who are used to social media, you may be quite good at doing that sort of thing. Listen to audiobooks. Take a course. There are lots of little training tools. A lot of the big recruitment websites, such as Indeed, LinkedIn, they've got lots of little courses. If you wander around the website, you can find them where you can actually practice not just the communication skills, but quite a few of the other skills that we're going to be talking about today. Okay, so the next one that we're going to think about is leadership skills. And again, I've got a little graphic here for you. What leadership skills do you need the most? And if you can see, there is a breakdown, but the top three things are all about what sort of person you are. They want someone who inspires and motivates. They don't actually want someone to do the work. People want to be able to do the work, but they want a leader who inspires and motivates them. They also want a leader who displays high integrity and honesty, and they want a leader who solves problems and works out what the issues are. And the rest sort of falls into place after that, really. So, what is leadership? Well, it's the art of persuading and managing people to achieve the set goals and objectives of your company, of your project group, whatever it is. And you need to be able to motivate your staff, especially when you're working in an area where things might be stressful. You might have periods where work is very hard, very fast, when maybe you might be short of staff and you're having to sort of cover backlogs or working above and beyond, really. So to do that as a leader, have some progress meetings. I've said here at least every 6 months. Some good managers try to have a team meeting at least, once a month or once every 6 weeks, just to find out what's going on and enabling people to put things on the agenda. But also for you to use that time to be a bit motivational, to praise them when they've done some things well, to, make sure that the team know that they've achieved, look at some of the goals and where they've achieved. People do work at their best when they're happiest. So really your job as a leader is to try to find ways to keep them happy, really. So how do we become an effective leader? Communicate well. Back to communication again, it's really important. You can't lead if your followers aren't clear about what your aims and objectives are. So it's about you making everything very clear, not leaving them with questions, not leaving them misunderstanding what you've said so they end up doing the wrong thing, which causes a problem because you might have to discipline them for doing it. So make sure it isn't your fault that they did the wrong thing. Mentorship. Can you mentor a colleague? If you don't know, why don't you see if there's any short courses you can do where you can learn mentoring skills? Really important. Mentoring is about being a role model, about learning some coaching techniques. Really great skills to have, and certainly good to go down onto your CV. Sustainable relationships as well. So making sure that you maintain healthy relationships, and really going back to what we said the other day, is it could be just like, hey, how you doing? Or oh, I heard your daughter, your little daughter wasn't very well. Is everything okay now? Those sorts of things. It really, really improves productivity. It makes staff feel that you respect them and they have more respect for you for actually caring. So some of those things are things that you could just do. Some of them, like mentorship, you might want to, as I said, do a little course in, or again, go on to some of the big recruitment websites. Some of these sort of things you can find online as well. Some of them you may have to pay for. Some of them might be free if they're just a short introduction to. There's lots of blogs you can have a look at and follow where people will sort of give you some guidance in that area as well. It's very crucial to know the boundary as well between employer and employee, really. You need to be liked, but you don't want to be over friendly. It's that difficult, especially if you're not a very senior manager. It's quite hard, to be part of the team but not one of the team. And you sort of stand aside a little bit. And that can actually be a difficult place to be. And if you do struggle with that, you need to discuss that in supervision with your more senior line manager. You need to cultivate people to develop their interests as well. So show your interest in them and find out ways that they can develop their own skills. So if you're working in your skills and they're working on their skills, then all of you will improve together. And try to recognize people's strengths and make use of them in a positive way, really. Because if someone feels very confident about something they can do, well, say, you're really good at that. Maybe you could take the lead in this group, or maybe you could show the others how to do it. The best run businesses not don't just have really good marketing, really good sales. They also have very good leaders who know what's required to get to their aims and objectives, and also know their teams and how quickly they can get there, and what they need to do to get there. So the third one we're looking at is negotiation skills. Over time, you'll learn what negotiation strategies work. You need to get to know different people as well to find out what works with some people, doesn't work with others. You need to work out what to say and how to say it. The better at negotiation you are, the more money you'll save, like work when you're interacting with your suppliers, the more money you'll raise from investors, and the more you can charge customers. All by allowing all of this allows your business to grow. So get in the habit of negotiating lower prices. Whenever you buy or order something in your day-to-day life, try to find out if there's any discounts. Try to find out if there's any, special offers coming up. Don't buy it today. If you ask and they say, actually, we're going to have an offer on it tomorrow, say, okay, well, I'll come back tomorrow. Get into that habit. Don't be obnoxious about it, though, as well. Nobody wants someone who bargains with them all the time. So you need a sort of element of subtlety. I think anyway. There isn't a blueprint for negotiation. It is a skill. You do need to master it. But try and practice it whenever you can, like going to a car boot sale or in a local shop. Um, Things to remember are, you know, next time you're going to buy something, you can try cutting down the price of a product. Now, I wouldn't suggest you try and do this in Marks and Spencer's because they'll say go away because they have set prices. But you can certainly do it. Go to a car boot sale and say, oh, I don't know, how much do you want for that? Oh no, can I give you £1 for it or something and see? I've said aggressively by giving them substantially less. But what I don't mean say aggressive in your tone of voice or in your stance as well. You need to you need to learn to negotiate in a sort of happy, smiley way as well, so that when you've come to a deal, people actually like you for it and don't think, oh God, here she comes again. I don't know, she's going to start yelling at me until I give her it. So that's not really the way to do it. What you need to do is mention competitors' prices, compare prices to other competitors and say, oh, the guy over there is doing it, they've got something very like that and it's only £3 and you're charging £5 for it. So bring that up. And don't show too much interest in the product, because otherwise people know you want it, really. It's quite a classic. Um, so just sort of just say, "Oh, that's nice. I don't know, make to go off and leave, go for a walk. Oh, it's okay. I'm not that interested. I'll just go for a walk around. And if they say, "Oh, what would you get it?" Say, "Well, I might buy it if it was a bit cheaper, but I don't fancy that. No, no, I'll go and see what else I can spend my money on." So the best negotiation, as I said, is always done with a smile. It should not be an ugly exchange, really. If it is, people will not want you at their stall or in their shop. It's much more effective to charm your way into a good deal and get the other person to want to do business. So even though you're being quite firm about it, always be polite, never be rude, really. And I would say that's probably the most important thing. Now, some big businessmen, the Alan Sugars of this world, you're doing The Apprentice. I don't know if you ever watched The Apprentice, but I think people are quite rude and obnoxious on that. And I don't think that's actually a very good advert. There are some people who can get away with it because they have created this persona. Say like Alan Sugar, if you watch The Apprentice in the UK. I dread to say Donald Trump if you watch the American Apprentice. But not many people in normal business would get away with that. Some people, if you were like that, people just don't want to deal with you, really. They'd rather go and find someone who doesn't give them such a hard time. And I guess that's sort of obvious, really. So I would say don't use those two as examples. They have got that way because of the position they are in now, but they probably weren't like that at the beginning. Now they're quite rich and powerful, so they can be rude to people. But at the beginning, when they were just starting off, well, Alan Sugar probably was able to be a bit more polite and a bit more understanding of people. Donald Trump, I'm not so sure, because he was always very, very rich. People who are very, very rich often feel that they don't have to be polite to people. I don't know. But don't use those as role models anyway. Business networking. I've said here, if you take a sample of 10 directors of a company and ask them how they managed to get to the top, chances are most of them will say networking. So it's there's that old adage, it's not what you know, it's who you know. Unfortunately, there is an element of truth in that. I think you do need to know your stuff, but also you do need to meet the right people as well who can help you or can give you the opportunities that you want. Now, it's very important, especially if you're an entrepreneur and you're building your own business. Networking is absolutely vital. If you even if you work for a very established company, there is still an element of networking that you need to do because you need to be talking to the competition. You need to be finding out what customers are interested in. And to do that, you need to be talking to other people. How do you improve your networking? You need, well, don't underestimate social media, as I've said. If you go to an event or a conference, make sure that people will be posting things from the conference. Just like them, or a like comment, preferably positive. If you insult someone, have the opposite effect, so that's not really going to be good. But just a little comment, or say something on something like LinkedIn, which is where a lot of business is, the network a lot of people business people use. Saw so and so at the conference, really impressed by their speech, a little post. Um, you can do it on X or Facebook as well. But LinkedIn, because it's very business orientated, is one where business people will look. So something like that, just to keep, you've drawn attention to, how well you thought they are, how good they thought they are, but also it will make them think of you as well, keep them in your conscious. If you had a good meeting with someone, even if you were just chatting over a drink or over lunch, do connect to people, maybe make a friend of them, make a contact of them. Also going to face-to-face events. I mean, in my experience, I find you do a lot more networking face-to-face when you're actually chatting to people. Social media is quite good, but it's a little bit sterile. You sort of remember people a lot more, as I said, when you've actually had a chat with them over lunch. So going to conferences and events, working groups, those sorts of things are always the best way to do it. So, and again, there are specialist websites now that do business events for people to network at, and some people do quite like to use them. Otherwise, it's usually something, a conference that's related to, a piece of work, or related to your specific field. Build a bit of an online personality, though. You can create your own web page. Make a decision about whether it's going to be a professional page. And if it's not a professional page, like your Facebook page, then that's not something you encourage other business people to maybe look at. But if you, especially if I said, if you're an entrepreneur who's working for yourself, you do need a personal web page, really. But make sure it's professional. Get other people to have a look at it with you. Don't just rely on your own ideas. And keep your LinkedIn profile up to date. So many people will turn to LinkedIn quite quickly, really. It's easier than looking for someone's web page, because they'll find, if I've been to a networking event and met 5 different people, and four of them impressed me and I was interested in them and I thought I'd like to get to know them more, or I'd like to maybe work with them on something, then I would look at the LinkedIn profile first and sort of make a contact. In LinkedIn, it's not called a friend, it's a contact, because again, it's more business like. So, but you'd want them to be one of your contacts, because then you'll start getting updated when they've posted things and that. So it's very similar to Facebook, but it's actually much more business like, slightly more formal as well, and keeps it focused. Either way, you need something like that. Okay, management skills. Every business needs management. There's always a need for someone who can plan and make sure projects happen, who can oversee people to do tasks and to take responsibility when a problem arises and solve it. So like your leadership skills, you need to have management skills as well. And that will put you, if you've got good management skills and if they're recognized, then that will put you ahead for promotion. If you're not able to delegate, and a lot of people are not, people find it very difficult to let go of things. They don't feel confident. They're frightened of something going wrong, and then they're taking the blame. You need to learn to delegate, and you need to practice delegating. You need to identify what the important tasks that you will worry about all day and all night, or tasks that you have particularly good skills for, and then delegate some of the rest. Okay. So you might have an administrator who's really good at organizing things. You could delegate quite a lot of organizing meetings and passing information on to people and keeping people updated, or sending out project goal information, or gathering information for reports. You could get them to go out and do it for you, while you sort of oversee certain tasks that you have the real skills for. You need to be able to set people goals as well. So you able to be think further ahead. You need to be able to forecast what might happen in the future. Now, I'm not talking about looking into a crystal ball. I'm talking about, using your experience of what you've done, what you're good at, and what's gone before, so that you can forecast. You can look at last year's financial returns to help you forecast this year's, those sorts of things. You can look at some of the changes that have already happened in the previous 6 months, i.e., the price of utilities has gone through the roof since, particularly over the last couple of years, say, due to various political issues. And while they're unresolved, then those prices will be higher. So if your 2 years ago utilities were at a certain rate, last year's were this high, check with interest rates, check with the Bank of England, have a look at what the utility companies are charging. If you've just heard on the radio they're asking for a 6% rise, then you need to think about that. So as a manager, you need to be on the ball, you need to be listening to things, you need to be finding out what's going on. So you're always thinking a little bit ahead. Make sure another part of your role is to make sure that all the staff know where the company's going. Even if it's going into a sort of a negative situation, you do need to make sure your staff know that. And there's no point saying, oh, I don't want to tell them, it'll frighten them, it'll worry them. Well, yeah, but you've got to think about how you tell them then. Okay. But you do need to know what the company vision is. And if there is a real problem, then maybe the vision and the goals are going to change a little bit. And you can bring the staff on board with that. There's actually quite a lot of apps around that can help you organize, manage teams and their planning. So do have a look online as well. You'll find lots of sort of little management apps around now that can be quite helpful. Okay, sales and marketing. Most business have an element of sales and marketing, especially if they're a competitive business. So you need to think about marketing routes, and you need to think about what's right for your product and your company, what type of style and approach you would take. People who work in marketing need to have a very, very good knowledge of selling and the marketing concepts, but they also need to have a really good knowledge of the product as well. So if you're responsible for an element of marketing your product, then make sure you really, really know what sort of product you've got and you know what it can do and what it can't do. Remember that the whole point of running your business is about to fulfill a need for your customer. So your marketing and the quality of your sales needs to be targeted about customer service. Good customer service keeps customers coming back, and they might have bought one product with you, and if the service has been so good, they'd be inclined to come and buy another product with you. And that's what some of the great department stores used to do so well. Quite a few of them have gone now, but you still have people like John Lewis, and I suppose Marks and Spencer has an element of that because they do quite a lot of different things, you know, from food to clothes to furniture to home stuff. And people sort of see them as a sort of standard of excellence. So, you know, people will buy their food in Marx's because they love the taste of it. So it might make them think that, well, you know, maybe I'll go and buy a dress there because, you know, the quality's so good here. Maybe the quality runs through the whole organisation. So, and also one of the things, say, that people like Marks and Spencers and John Lewis they have is very high standard customer service that people always remember. So if you actually go into the shops, I wouldn't say, I don't know about online. I mean, online it's about the same as most people. It's no worse, but refunds are quicker than some. But on in person, the quality of service is much higher. The way the staff speak to you, the availability of staff, all of that is of a very high level, which is something that most people remember, and it makes them go back to the shop. I've got a little graphic here with two types of marketing. On the red side is something known as interruption marketing, which is a style of marketing where you actually interrupt someone's activity flow to get their attention. So you're probably quite used to that. If you try and do anything on your phone and you get pop-up adverts, you know, if it's a game or if it's something else you're searching for, or if it's just looking through your Facebook page, or you'll get lots of pop-ups now, lots of adverts. Or sometimes you might just have banners running underneath advertising them. You'll even get them on TV. If you're on a commercial TV channel, it'll obviously be the classic ads that come in between um, Emmerdale and things like that. You know, the TV ads, which a lot of people quite like watching actually because they tend to be entertaining. But you'll have other sort of little sort of banner ads and that popping up around. Um, so that's interruption marketing. In other words, my ad interrupts your train of thought and hopefully you will click on it. And then you've got the blue side here, which is known as inbound marketing, where you earn attention organically without interrupting anyone's path. So it's the complete opposite. So it's very specific and focused. And it's not a sort of, oh, they're trying to do their homework, but I'm just going to interrupt them with this, or they're trying to read that book, and I'm just going to interrupt them with that. This is more about things that people choose to do. So, like joining a mailing list because you like the product and you've joined a mailing list to find out more about it. Print media where you buy certain books through Kindle, say. So you'll be following your favorite authors. So it's right of them to send you a new book by your favorite author. Community building, you live in a certain community and you follow certain things on that community. So the algorithm sends you stuff from that community focused. So maybe that you like to go to a music pub in a certain community, and they'll send you like another pub that's local that does that sort of music. Or so it's very targeted, really. Social media that you've actually chose to go on. your normal Facebook, say, so you'll only get stuff about your friends if you set it up correctly. And things like word of mouth marketing, where people tell each other, that's obviously fairly focused and targeted as well. So just out of interest, if you have a look at the amount of clicks where people actually click on something, for the interruption marketing, at the top here it says responsible for 10% of all the clicks on the web. So all that work in the interruption marketing with all these pop-up ads and all that coming up whenever you're trying to play a game, I know if there's anything like me, that 10% of people, only 10% of the people who receive them act on them. If you have a look at the blue marketing, the inbound, which is very much targeted, if you have a look, it says 80% of web clicks are for inbound marketing. So as you can see, if you're marketing something, using the inbound style is 80%, whereas using the interruption one is only 10%. So 70% of people will click. 70% more people will respond to the focused marketing. Okay. Okay, sorry about that. Financial management, a classic skill. So a good understanding of financial management is really important, as you can imagine. Allows you to plan for new projects, and with good financial management, you know what's selling well. You know how to generate revenue. It's absolutely critical for your business because you have to forecast your cash flows and sales. And you do need to monitor the money you're making and the money that you're losing. You'll want at least a basic knowledge of profit and loss sheets, some very basic bookkeeping and some balance sheets. Now, a lot of companies, especially if you join a large company, they will have a finance team. They will put a lot of the information together. They will manage lots of spreadsheets for you, and they may well send it to you. But you need to be able to read it, and you need to be able to talk about it when you go to meetings with managers. So it's really, really important that you get a working knowledge. No one is asking you to do high-level accountancy unless you're interested in it. But you do need a working knowledge of, as I said, cash flow, basic bookkeeping, profit and loss, balancing. And you've got to be able, if you're running a team or running an office or running a department, you've got to be able to forecast what they're spending, and you've got to make sure that you come in under budget. And to do that, you've got to make financial decisions. So how do you improve your financial management? You need some analytical thinking. You need to be adept at critical and analytical thinking. So to do that, you might need a course. You might be able to do some exercises in critical thinking. There's quite a lot of textbooks that you can find about improving your critical thinking skills. You need to surround yourself with reviews, publications, and content. You need some basic books on finance if you haven't got them, or follow some blogs, fairly simple ones. Start simple and get more technical. Reading things like Bloomberg to know what the markets are doing, or I quite often watch Bloomberg News just to keep my hand in. Really, it seems to run forever. It runs 24 hours, I think. And it keeps an idea of what's moving on the stock exchange, but they also have interesting features on forecasting things that are going to change. They keep an idea on the banks, and when there's a move up or a move down in interest rates coming up, they'll interview lots of people who explain what might be coming in the future. Now, some people might think that's boring, but it is valuable. So it is something you can tune into now and then. Google Finance is another one that you can have a little skim of, see what's going on. So if you've got your finger on the interest rates, then you've got an idea of what to consider in some of your forecasting, really, especially if your team, if you've got loans, depending on what it is. Are you a startup? You've probably got lots of loans, lots of investments. You need to have an idea what's going on. So you do need to understand the financial needs of the company, and you need to sort of get a little bit ahead of it, really, because it's not something you should be catching up on all the time. So as I said, do that. There are also short demos, very short skills courses in financial management. There are long ones as well for people who have to do quite a lot of it. But there's certainly introductions to finance, and there are a few textbooks which I know that's quite useful for sort of A-level business students as well, if you want to learn a bit more. And if anyone's interested in those, they can just contact me for them and I'll let you know. Okay, so you need to be aware of that. How do you improve it? By practice very often, by learning to look at budgets, or asking a manager, say, I want to get to grips with this. Can I sit down? Can you sort of talk me through maybe the budget sheets? Okay, entrepreneurial and innovation. All managers need to be entrepreneurial. They need to be looking at where they can improve, where they can expand. You need to have a creative mind to be entrepreneurial. You need to think about taking calculated risks. And if you have these traits, if you're innovative, if you're creative, if you're an ideas person, they have earned entrepreneurs fame and lots of profit. Now, entrepreneurs used to be only associated with startups. You use an entrepreneur to start a company, or they would start a company of their own, thinking of people like Virgin, Richard Branson, Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos of Amazon, really, all started something simple with a paper and pen, usually sitting somewhere in a college common room. However, now a lot of big corporations have their own innovation departments so that they can start thinking of new products, new ideas, so that they can get on top of some of these little sort of clever techie startups that are coming around. And so they can keep their competitive advantages. So the likes of Google, the likes of Apple, they still have their innovation departments. They don't just sit around going, well, we're Apple, we've done all we need to do. No, they're still trying to create. Someone who's an entrepreneur, you need to keep up to date with technology. You need to keep up to date with innovation. Now, those of you, depending on what courses you're using for this business course, some of you might be on the computing course and that means you really do have to keep up to date with technology and innovation, really. And the way you can do this in the areas that you're interested in is following people's blogs, finding out, and that doesn't take a lot, really. You just need to look through Google, find some sites that you think have the interest that you have, and follow their blogs, follow their updates. You'll be able to start identifying the competition early. So if you're producing a product like shoes, you need to find the sites where all the shoe development is going on, and then follow them, really. Keep an idea about new product lines that competitors are coming out with. Learn about acquisition targets. What can we buy? What can we take over? Is there a little company over there that's very small, sort of family-owned company that maybe they're retiring, maybe they want to sell it off, so there's an acquisition that your company might want. So an entrepreneur is always looking very far ahead. They don't tend to look behind that much. Sometimes that's a bit of a weakness of them, because they're always on with the next great idea. which can be a bit of a problem for the people who work for them. But it is a skill. So how do you develop your entrepreneurial side? Well, be creative. If you're not very creative, try to expand that side of your abilities. Read biographies, listen to entrepreneurial podcasts, read up about great startup teams, attend innovation meetups. You'll see them advertised. If you start getting into them, start looking up entrepreneurial movements, innovation startups, you'll start coming across them really. Be a risk taker as well. Be brave. Think, oh, I don't know much about those. Go anyway. Find out about it. It's never too late to start taking risks, no matter how old you are or how young you are. It's just a sort of psychological thing, really. The risk mentality is really one that thinks on long-term goals. So, just don't think about, what I can do tomorrow. You've got to be able to think a long way ahead. Think like about Elon Musk, really developed SpaceX because he wants to go to Mars. Now he's doing a lot of stuff now at the moment, and then he's using the SpaceX, or his engineers are actually developing rockets that take things to the International Space Station and do a very good job of it as well, coming there. But the technology is constantly being developed because his real long-term goal is to not only go to Mars, but to, put a colony on Mars. So everything that they do has got that long-term goal in it. But in the meantime, they're solving problems in this world, I suppose. And NASA did the same. Many years ago, NASA wanted to go to the moon, but some of the things they developed to make it possible for people to go to the moon or to go to the space station became well used in normal day-to-day life, such as the humble biro, the rollerball pen that could write upside down. That was actually created by NASA, but everybody loves them, and it was very, very useful. Loads of things that NASA have created are used in day-to-day life. So a big long goal, but on the way they've created products. So there's nothing wrong with having a crazy idea. Just think about what you can do to get the steps to do it, really. Okay, time management. Now, people who manage their time properly are generally more productive and they meet deadlines. That's sort of obvious, really, isn't it? So if you've got effective time management skills, you will be respected, you will be an asset to your organization. And people who've got good time management generally know how to prioritize as well. So they know what things have to be done first. It is an ability, and you can learn it. Some people just have it naturally, some people don't, but there are ways you can learn it. So some of the tips is learn how to prioritize. If your work's a bit overwhelming, you need to maybe jot some down, the jobs that you've got to do, and categorize them. And then you can sort of identify which one's important. So you can have different levels of importance. One vitally important, one quite important, another one not really important at the moment. Categorize all the jobs you've got to do, and that will help you decide it. In the end, you'll get good at it, but lots of people still always do that. They write their to-do list down and then they categorize it and level of importance. And coming out of that is keeping a to-do list. No manager has ever survived without a to-do list, I can assure you. Yes, it's great, the people who keep lots rolling around in their head all the time. And you can do that as well, that's fine. But at least get it down, on paper, in your phone, however you keep your lists, it doesn't really matter. But you do need every now and then to be able to check in at your list. I quite like the satisfaction of ticking things off as well. or drawing a line in them or erasing them. I don't actually. I tend to keep things on the list and just tick it or put a line through it. Because sometimes I like to look back at it and think, what did I do? So quite important. So some of the main mistakes about time management. So if you go backwards from your mistakes, you can find out how to improve it. Failing to keep a to-do list, as I said, it's the be all and end all for time management. Not setting goals, targets, aims, not giving yourself a time to do things by or a day to do it by at the very least. Not doing your prioritization, as I said, making highlighting what's very important. Not managing distractions. It's so easy for us to be distracted doing some work. I might say, oh, hang on a minute, I'll just watch this little TV program and then I'll come back and finish it off. And then eventually you find out you didn't ever go back. So manage distractions. You might have to set yourself a time alarm. So if you go and watch program, set yourself an alarm. Let the bell, let your watch ring or your phone ring to say, right, your distraction time is over. Now you've got to get back to it. Otherwise, it just roll on. Don't take on too much. You may find out actually if you sometimes you've agreed to do lots of things and you sit back and you think, oh crikey, there isn't enough hours in the day to do this. So think before you agree. If you feel someone's pushing you hard, just give me a couple of hours. I've got to look at what else I've got to do and I'll get back to you. So if you're a bit unsure, can you fit something in? Say, make sure that you don't answer people straight away, but say, I'll get back to you. Ineffectively scheduling tasks. Not really giving the right time for a task or not really putting it in the right date. So that won't really help you because it will come to Wednesday and you either haven't finished a job because you didn't give yourself enough hours to do it, or you put it in on the right date at the wrong date and then found out you actually needed it 3 days earlier. So try to be, careful about when you're scheduling things into your diaries. Focusing on the wrong thing, so you could get a bit stuck into a small issue when the big issues go undone, really. So if you look at a small issue and you can see that you're worrying at it, say, right, again, I'm only going to give myself 5 more minutes on this, and then I'm going to get on and do that one. And again, you can use your timers if you want. Not planning ahead. There's no point, booking all these things in and then going, oh gosh, I forgot I've got a 2-week holiday in the middle of that. So use a planner, use a wall planner, use your phone, use your laptop, whatever it is. Keep your diaries up to date. If other people are relying on you to be here or be there, then keep a visual one so people know where you're going to be and what you're doing. And also in that time, block out when you're actually working on something. You don't want to be interrupted if you can. Those sorts of things. Visual planners are very good because when you're taking on a new thing, you can actually look at them and think, oh gosh, no, I can't do that till next Wednesday. And it's nice and clear for you. At the bottom, I've got being a perfectionist and sometimes spending too long on a tiny little thing just to make it absolutely just right is not, becomes pointless, really. So I'm not saying don't do things as well as you can do them, but try not to obsess over certain little details that, if you sort of sit back and think, will this change the world if I don't do it quite now? No, okay, well, then I can get on. Okay, we've got delegation, really. This is the last of our skills, you'll be pleased to know. So in the context of business, delegation is about transferring your duties to other people. And this isn't about you going, right, you lot can do this, I don't want to do it. It should be the long-term goal of every business where your team actually work for you and not you work for them. Okay, so it's part of the managing people role. So it doesn't mean that you take all the work on yourself. And like I said, it doesn't mean you give all the work to someone else. It's got to be a fair to in and fro in, and there's got to be some sort of spirit of collaboration, really. But do remember, delegation often offers those who want it the opportunity to actually do something more responsible, to step up a little bit, and it gives them personal growth. So you do need to sometimes sell the things you're delegating in that way. So no matter how good you are as a manager, sometimes you just can't get everything done. Please look at the previous things we've been talking about. So you do need help, and you need to tell people that you need help, and they'll respect you for that. And just say it's not, I'm not being lazy, but and it's also good for people too. But try to do it, as I said, as if we're all working together. This team is in it together. So to get this done, you need to do this, this, and this. I need to do this. Let them know that you're doing things as well. You're not just delegating because you want to go and watch the telly. So think about it. How do we delegate? Well, for one thing is we go back to dear old communication again. You can't delegate effectively if you don't sit down and explain to them exactly what you want them to do in a clear and concise way. So there's something to do with your language, both verbal and non-verbal, both written and verbal. That's really, really important. They need to come away from sitting down with you to be clear of exactly what you want them to do. Okay, that's really, really vital. Be a good mentor. As I said, don't just do it because you just want to pass it on, but make it clear that you want them to grow and improve. Make it clear you see their management potential as well, and make it clear that this is just another skill that they can have. And the hardest bit of all with delegation is learning to trust people. Once you've given up that responsibility, you have to trust them with it. You have to let them perform it. And you have to let them know that you trust them with it. So really resist the urge to interfere or micromanage, as we say, because that just makes people fed up with you, really. And it also makes people feel insecure because if you're dabbling, they think, she doesn't trust me. She thinks I'm not good enough for this, or she's trying to catch me out because she thinks I don't have the skills and she wants to see where I'm going to mess it up. So they'll either mess it up intentionally or they'll mess it up because they'll get so worked up about it. Either way, you're going to lose out. So trust is really, really important. Okay, so that was all the sort of core skills that are required to function effectively in a business. So that's meeting 4.1 really. So 4.2, I'm going to ask you to assess your own core business skills. So what I've done is just a bit of an overview on some steps to assess your own skills. Okay. So one of them, the first one is reflect on your job description. So make a list of what you've got. Look back at your job description. Hopefully you've got it filed away somewhere. See what skills were mentioned as requirements. Um, you might find hard skills more clearly written out than soft skills, but you might want to sort of write down some of the soft skills that you need to carry out parts of the role. So try to think about the specifics of it. Um, Obviously, the hard skills tend to be easier to pinpoint, like I've said here, things like computer literacy or needing to be able to speak another language or, things that you have to be trained to do. Instead of just saying, yes, I can do Excel, think about what bits you can do. What level of it can you do? The pivot tables? Can you write formulas? So put some notes about that. Yeah, yes, I can't. Yeah, I can do more than the basic Excel. I can do this, this, and this as well. So jot down some notes, almost as if you were preparing for a job interview, because you could use them if you've kept them for a job interview. After that, zero in on the soft skills. We've sort of looked at some of the technical skills. And some of the soft skills aren't taught in classrooms. You can't do courses for them. Things like analytical thinking, verbal and written communication, you do those with practice. Now, a bit of research I've put in here is the Society of Human Resource Management says that most employees actually care more about someone coming with good developed soft skills than they do technical abilities like reading and mathematics. Um, because it really depends on the job, quite honestly. If you're going to do a certain thing, you might not need the mathematics that much anyway. You might have a finance team to help with some of that. And you could do a short course anytime, really, to improve that area. So you could do a budgeting course, and that would help you. So think about what soft skills are in your repertoire, analytical thinking, as I said, good communication, leadership. Look back at some of the skills we've talked about. How can you prove you're a good team player? Try to think of some examples. Again, jot them down. Have you resolved conflict? How well did you adapt to a change or a challenge? So, again, jot these ideas down. You need a lot of rough notes as part of your reflection. And, you might not always have to send them anywhere, but you need to keep them in your own sort of personal note file because you need to be looking at your performance and how you change over the years as well. So look at your performance review. If you work in a company that does proper annual performance reviews, hopefully you do, then look back at them and compare them from one year to another. See where you've changed. Look at your strengths, but also look at your weaknesses. Make some notes about your weaknesses. What have you done to improve them? Have you improved as much as you would like? Are there still things you want to do? If so, make a note of those. Ask other people for feedback. You can speak to previous managers as well at places you've worked elsewhere to see what skills they think made you a good performer. Or other people that you've worked with in other teams say, did I do that well? Or sometimes it's difficult to ask the people that you do work with, but if you've got a good relationship rapport with them and you're able to talk in a sort of friendly way with each other, then maybe you can ask them. If not, if you feel uncomfortable doing that, ask people who who used to work with or people you were at college with, really, because you develop these soft skills, at a younger age, really, often before you go to work. So talk to people and say, do I do that well, or do I listen? Do I communicate well? That sort of thing. Um, I put a little warning here. If there's someone that you really, really get on well with at work, they're not the people to get feedback from because if you want to keep a good working relationship and you've developed a good relationship with someone, nobody actually ever wants to sort of destroy that. So it's better to ask someone who maybe you're not so close with. So I've hear your office bestie. So, it's better to go with someone who who you think sort of fairly honest, fairly fair-minded, really. You want honest feedback, otherwise you won't achieve anything. Finally, you can take an online behaviour test. There's hundreds of them on the website. Personality test, behaviour test, and they give you a vague idea of, you answer the questions in a certain way. The Myers-Briggs is very common. Um, they can tell you what your emotional intelligence is like, what your values are like, what your personality traits, and sort of what might motivate you. And that might give you some insight, really, and you can use that as part of your reflection. Okay, so that's all we've got really for this one. But there is some work I want you to do in guided study now. I've put a couple of resources on reviewing your own performance and making a personal development plan. So I would like you to spend time having a look at that. Once you've had a good look at that, I've also loaded up a personal development plan template for you. It's got some examples in it as well, so that you just get an idea of maybe how to write them. And then when you do it, it's a Word document, so you can take the examples out and sort of put your own in. So I want you to identify a couple of business skills that you want to improve from your reflection, and then sort of think put a little plan together for how you're going to improve them. Okay. If you're not sure, you can contact me and I can give you some more guidance. But I want you to do that, and then you will keep your draft plan because you are going to use it as part of your assignment again. So you can start working on this now. I'll be putting the assignment will be going up quite soon, or it might already be up there now. You'll have some time to complete the rest of the assignment, but this is a piece of work you need to do as part of your assignment. Okay, so you're going to actually use your little draft plan, and you're going to write about it. Okay, so try and get that done as soon as you can, and then I'm going to do another little verbal video tutorial for you, just talking through the assignment, just to make sure, hopefully, that you're clear on all the different steps on it, because you need to create 2 or 3 documents. So I'll be talking that through quite soon, and it will be going up sort of quite soon after this one goes up online. Okay, so good luck with that. And like I said, if you need any help with thinking about what you have to do for the assignment, you just need to WhatsApp me or email me. Okay, thank you very much, and good luck with your assignment.